It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesdays, and I'm not feeling super well, but we're gonna push through. Yeah, we're gonna talk about healthy intimacy, and I'll say platonic touch for the thumbnail. The request was for healthy intimacy and non-sexual touch. And this is a really great topic that I'm a little afraid to talk about, because this is one of these things where people get reactive and start suggesting I'm thinking things I didn't say, or even said things I didn't say. And, you know, that leaping to assume that someone has nefarious intent is, to me, a marker of someone who lacks healthy intimacy, because obviously healthy intimacy fosters trust, among other things. And so I'm going to do this topic with that kind of trepidation stated, because I do think that it is important to talk about these things. And sometimes we have to do it even if there's some shit flung our way. So if you like this sort of content, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK, or if you want to sign up for a Leanna Care session because there's specifics you want to work through, link in the description box below to the sign-up form. And this is one of these things where we have data and we have popular narratives, and they are nowhere near close. You know, you have people all over the internet citing sex as a need. It's not. If sex was a need, then asexual people would die or be miserable. And interestingly, the data says that there is no increased happiness for people, whether they're having sex or not. Less sexual or asexual people are no less content with their lives than people who have sex. And sex more than once a week is not correlated with increased happiness, even in couples. That's very interesting data, because that's not what we see in the media. That's not what we see in, social media. There's this idea that if you don't want sex all the time, there's something wrong with you. For men, you're less manly. For women, men will never want you and they'll cheat. And none of this is true. The things that are essential, that we do see very serious mental and physical health outcomes, are, a lack of friends, a lack of that emotional intimacy and trust platonically in friends, and non-sexual touch. Touch is a human need. Something happens to us when we don't have contact. We have bodies with touch sensors for a reason. And even something as simple as petting a dog or a cat fulfills that need. It's just a contact. It's a sense. We know about the really negative effects of solitary confinement in prison systems, right? Trying to find alternatives to solitary confinement is this ongoing thing in people who are interested in criminal justice reform. It's especially significant with transgender populations, where obviously, you can't put a trans woman in a men's prison. It's not safe. But then you get the J.K. Rowlings of the world freaking out when you put them in a women's prison. J.K. Rowling got triggered by a tweet I made. Yeah. Wine Mom Sorum, mad at me. I am Twitter Frodo. Yeah. Twitter Frodo, Twitter Aragorn. I don't know. Twitter Aragorn's cooler. Twitter Proto is probably more. Twitter Gollum, the precious. Anyway, distracted. It's a real issue because, these inmates end up in solitary confinement for their own safety, or the comfort of others, and it's not healthy. Now, areas with large transgender populations, I believe, either Los Angeles, Nevada, or both, like Los Angeles, a prison in Nevada, or both have transgender wings. Yeah, this is a thing, but it's not just that. Elderly people who live alone have issues. We're seeing more and more young people who are just terrified of the world for various reasons. I mean, there's the whole otaku phenomenon in Japan, but all across Asia. They're actually identifying the problem with young people just not going out. And socialization was falling pre-COVID. We saw the numbers start to fall at least as early as 2015. So this is not a COVID thing. There's something bigger going on, and people are just afraid of each other. And we put labels on it. We put explanations on it, but people are just afraid of other people. And I believe it's because certain social skills are taught. And if they're not taught, you have a really tough time navigating other people. Now, the good thing is you can learn these skills. It's just hard. And so we get into this anxiety cycle of don't want to say or do the wrong thing, get anxious, panic, say and do the wrong thing. Oh my God, I always say and do the wrong thing. Next time, don't want to say and do the wrong thing, panic. You see how the cycle continues. And this is tragic because, yes, you can get hurt. I don't know of anybody who lives a full life without some hurt. You can recover from hurt. Despair is a killer, right? Despair is different from hurt. Despair is a loss of hope. And one of the things that we fuck up young people with is this idea that you have to study out of your minds in the 7th grade because, when you go to apply to university, they're going to look at your transcripts all the way back to grade 6. No, they're not. They're not. But that was a lie. I was told. The lie has continued. I don't know why we do this to kids. It's not healthy. But, I don't make the news. I just report it. But instead of learning those very important socialization skills in late childhood into the teenage years, kids are studying. You're not getting social contact from studying. You're not getting the sense of being around other people, gestures, eye contact, non-sexual touch from studying. That's part of human learning that is intensely essential. And I do think that more and more, because everything requires a mark, the fact that I'm not here to make friends became this college freshman mantra. Like, holy shit. You need friends to get anywhere. Friends provide a cushion when things go bad. And I don't know how he went so wrong, but part of it, I think, is that false impression that um, the media puts out there that you're just supposed to know what to do in romantic and sexual situations. And you just, one person makes a statement and the other person makes a statement. Like, healthy communication doesn't look like the way it's portrayed in the media. Sometimes it is. I'm really, really impressed with shows like Superman and Lois. They actually do model healthy communication styles within families, which makes me very happy because that's so rare, especially for CW shows. But especially with anything intimate, we don't see people talking. It's just, they make eye contact, there is a pause, cut to smashing bits. It skips out all the really cool stuff. I mean, if it's a Joss Whedon Avengers movie, the whole beginning of the relationship gets skipped. Doing it once is one thing with Wanda and Vision. Doing it twice with Black Widow and Hulk, that's somebody who doesn't know how to write, people meeting and connecting. And some people do not know how to connect because they're so tense. They're putting so much pressure on themselves. They're putting value judgments on often a lack of sex, but a lack of desirability. And that's why people they really get me wrong when I make jokes about, J.K. Rowling accused me of craving the attention of a certain type of males. And I'm like, what? Like, me? Really? Like, I want Megan Thee Stallion's attention, but, so I'll make jokes about, like, I'm old, fat, and ugly. I don't, and annoying. I have given up on getting attention from any males, right? That's not a literal, tell me I'm not old, fat, and ugly. No, this is not the point. You don't have to be a great physical specimen to have intimacy, emotional or physical. You don't. I know plenty of guys who, to look at them, you wouldn't think that their big problem is they had 3 or 4 women fighting over them. But they do. And these are not super wealthy people. These are just guys who know how to talk to people and focus attention, and they understand human connection. Similarly, I mentioned somebody that, Ayn Rand had men fighting over her. She had multiple lovers, while being married, I believe. And you wouldn't think that Ayn Rand is a typical poster child for having quite a few suitors, but, she was. It's not just about the physical. And we spend too much time on the physical in North America. Well, WASP North America, I think, because, how do I put this? I grew up in a mix of cultures where touch was, various cultures were touchier than some others. The dance studio I went to was Italian and Jewish. The school I went to was a lot of Caribbean, but then a lot of East Indian, South Asian, not your standard, British ancestry white people. And so it was very loud and very, very touchy, like face, double cheek kiss, like touchy, touchy, touchy. It was actually LARPing where I had to learn not to touch people without asking. Because when you do improv theater, especially things like dinner theater, you put your hand on someone's shoulder when they're up on stage and they might be a bit drunk to control their movements. And I got in trouble for that. You don't touch people without their permission. Okay. But one of the things with theater and dance and anything where you're moving in a space to tell a story with other people, there is a process of making people all right with touch. And like with dance, it's around the waist, definitely for lifts. But also there's a lot of lifts in cheerleading and then dance where it's right on your butt. Like the person's hand is right on your butt. You try to grab the hips, but it's either your hand goes on someone's butt or you drop them. And that is not sexual harassment. When you're doing a dead fall in something, sometimes somebody's hand lands on your boob. That's not assault. It's they're catching you. You get a different relationship with that kind of thing when you are in those more physical endeavors. I mean, even when you do Latin dancing or certain types of ballroom, there are a couple of behind the back passes, things like that. Hands go accidentally in places. That's not sexual touch. But then there's little things like a touch on the arm, holding hands, hugs, putting your hand on someone's knee in a comforting gesture. Not everybody likes this. And it's totally fair to have your own boundaries, even leaning up against somebody, just kind of shoulder to shoulder. These are things that do matter. And those are the things that seem to be falling out of fashion. Similarly, I noticed this thing where millennial and Gen Z media is romanticizing awkward lying. And we came from a very different time in Gen X. We had bullshit apathy. I don't care. I don't care about not caring. I don't care that you don't care that I don't care because I don't care. It wasn't true. But the attitude was we really didn't have a choice because we were all going to get nuked. And if we didn't get nuked, we were not going to have jobs because the baby boomers were not going to retire. And we were told this regularly. And so I don't care became the shield. But when it came down to it, that's why we had certain types of music. That's why we had a whole bunch of different subcultures where we were allowed to care about shit. But I see this thing with young adult media where it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I'm good. And it's seen as romantic or relatable that people are actively lying to each other. Not an understandable mistake. It's seen as a meet cute. And that, I noticed it used really well in Gen V, the boys spinoff. And there I actually thought it was intended to be awkward and kind of like, yeah, they do this. It's not healthy. We know they're both bullshitting. But that seems to be the expected thing. That, you just have sex to do it because you're at a party. You don't get to know someone. There's no intimacy. You just fuck because that's what people do. And so a lot of those steps that have all the beneficial elements of intimate touch and emotional intimacy get skipped. And so we're getting all the not great stuff about sex without any of the good stuff with sex. And that's not positive. the increase cardiovascular health and reduce stress. Those are the two kind of found benefits to sex, but cardiovascular is any physical exertion, and there's other ways to reduce stress. I mean, masturbation reduces stress as much as sex with another person. And it is that, first of all, sense of being wanted. That sense that people want you around seems to be existing in fewer and fewer people now. And that's a problem. Because if you don't feel like you fit anywhere, it's very hard to go out into the big bad world and deal with rejection and, suffer the slings and arrows and then be able to come back and get support from the people that care about you, and that combination of someone will tell you when they think you're fucking up, but there's enough trust that they're not doing it to be mean. They're doing it because they care about you. And, they have your best interests at heart without forgetting that you ultimately get to determine what your best interests are. And that's the sweet spot for healthy intimacy. Everybody having boundaries so everybody can be authentic and present and express things and disagree and agree and have differences of opinion without invalidating each other. And, during the whole man, bear, pig saga, the man versus bear thing, there was a whole thing about very odd reaction, odd for me. They probably make complete sense to other people, but because I don't have the same other-oriented self-image. I'm aware a lot of people can't stand me, like J.K. Rowling. But I'm a big believer that often you're judged by the caliber of your enemies. If that woman can't stand me, I'm doing something right. Wine Mom Sauron, Twitter Frodo. But you know what I mean, right? Like, not everybody's gonna like you. And that's another thing. When you have people that actually have your back, it's much easier to not care that I have run-ins with freaking tons of these weird internet bullies. And I don't know, like J.K. Rowling was afraid enough of me to take my name off the tweet so she could make a bullshit slam without being called on the fact that it was complete bullshit. Like, that is not me, who she is describing. Which is, I think, why she took my name off of it. I'm in a head, right? But, and then there's the flip side of the man, bear, pig thing that I actually kind of find of interesting and on topic for this video, which is, who would you rather confess intimate feelings to, like talk about your feelings to, a woman or a tree? And I admit on that one, I do talk to trees. I have since I was a kid, and I am generally apprehensive to tell people in general stuff. There's about 4 or 5 people on this planet that I really trust with my feelings. I'm an introvert, so I'm generally bad at this anyway. I like to process and then have it at the end. But then I've also had some intensely shitty experiences with confiding in people, opening up to them, and then, Stalker Chan taking a stalker blog out on me based on there's 2 or 3 things in there that I did say, but she's completely changed the context of it. Notably, she was not a trans woman. I never said she was masculine. Like, I didn't say that. But other things is like, yeah, she's taken the core of something. And we weren't even that close. I tried to mentor her. That was a giant mistake. And ever since then, I've just been much more guarded around women. Now, are there some women I do trust? Sure. But again, it's not women who are my close friends. It's a woman. And the option is a tree. So any person, it'll be the tree. And I know that. So I have to watch that. I have to take risks because I know that talking to trees is not the same as talking to a person. I have PTS. This is a trick question. Like, it's one of these things where the answer is not something I'm proud of. It just is. And when you have healthy emotional intimacy with people in your life, you can make those statements of this isn't bad, this isn't good, it just is. And actually mean it. You don't have to go, it's fine. I stopped saying things are fine when they're not fine a long time ago. You can't have healthy intimacy, emotional intimacy, when you're like, it's fine. Or nothing when it's something. You have to actually tell people when something's bothering you. And you don't have to say every little thing that bugs you, right? Sometimes, like, I want to sit with this and see if it is something I really want to bring up. And, I'm making that choice. I'm owning that. But if I find myself biting people's heads off, I have to come clean and go, look, this is what's bothering me. And it's hard. It's terrifying. But I do it because the alternative is worse. Because if you trust no one with your feelings, no one can trust you with theirs. There's a reason that there's no trust. And I do think in a lot of ways, those sort of loving platonic gestures, a pat on the arm, a hug, holding someone's hand, those are more powerful than sex. And those really get skipped in favor of, you guys listen to Two Women Talking, I'm reading A Court of Thorn and Roses. This book describes orgasms as fractures and splinterings. And I'm like, ow, like, what is going on there? Fracturing? Huh? No, that's not sexy. That sounds painful, And obviously I'm not a romance connoisseur, but that was just my honest reaction. It's like, and I've never really understood brute sex because my life is rough and people are rough with me. And my idea of romantic is adorkable nerd guys who are emotionally supportive. More of that, please. Anytime. Like, these emotionally unavailable grunting savages, I'm tired of. And I never really liked them. Going back to when I was a kid, I liked the nice guy. I was Luke over Han. I liked Beast and X-Men. It's like, and I do think it's because the world was so hard and scary. And you do have to remain open. You do have to take risks, but small ones. Right? Like, can I give you a hug? Somebody might say no, but you offered, right? And then it's a question of, you didn't do anything wrong by offering. You didn't invade them by offering, There are some people who have issues with touch because of trauma or Some autistic people don't like being touched. Fine. Respect that. For them, they don't need it, right? There are other things that, parallel play is one of those things. Sitting side by side with someone, they may find closer personal space, more comfortable. I personally find autistic people that I know, they're uncomfortable with touch at first, but once they're comfortable with you, they really, really, really like hugs. That's the thing. You can't force it. Intimacy can't be forced. It can't be rushed. It can't be manufactured. You have to get to know someone. And that means meaningful conversations where you cut the bullshit and you ask if things are okay with people. With me, it even comes down to nicknames I call people. I ask them after a couple times, are you okay with this? And a lot of them said, yeah, I like it. But me asking means it's not forced on them, because a lot of people, especially men, have nicknames. Okay, me too. I was nicknamed Bloomers or Bloomies in grade 5 because a guy saw I was playing ball and my shirt came up, and that was the name on the elastic band of my underwear. Rest of the school year, I got called Bloomies. That was real fun. Leanna Bathroom. So nicknames for me, I appreciate it if people are like, do you actually mind being called that? And when you're asked that, for God's sakes, be honest. Don't say you're okay with something when you're not. Any intimacy, physical or emotional, begins with effective communication. And you can only become an effective communicator if you practice. And part of that is communicating with yourself, checking in with your own body and going, is this comfortable? Does it feel good? Or am I putting up with it because I'm a people pleaser and I'm afraid of getting the other person upset with me if I say no, stop? Trust me, that eventually you will hit a point of no return on. That will become a real problem. Your body is yours. It is precious. Your feelings are yours. They are precious. Your thoughts are yours. They are precious. And anybody who is worthy of your trust will treat those 3 things as precious. That's the core of it, So stop doing that. I don't like it. That is a message that people shouldn't be ignoring or saying, oh, it's just a joke, or doing it anyway. It's just, no, you're precious. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. Your patron support's really important to keep these videos going. The coffee support's important. And sign up for a Leanna Care session if you want to unpack some of these issues one-on-one. Thanks for watching, and be well.